Hello, and welcome to GMS Podcast. I'm your host, Ingrid. Today, we're exploring a striking contrast in ship recycling. In Union Bay, British Columbia, a facility known as Deepwater Recovery became the subject of extensive regulatory scrutiny and legal proceedings. Environmental authorities documented repeated exceedances of permitted discharge limits for heavy metals, such as copper and lead, and the case highlighted significant gaps in pollution control and oversight. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away in Alang, India, ship recycling yards have been transforming their operations under the Hong Kong Convention, setting global benchmarks for safety, transparency, and environmental performance. Joining me is Dr. Anand Hiremath, Chief Executive Officer of the Sustainable Ship and Offshore Recycling Program, better known as SSORP. He has been closely involved in driving compliance, worker safety, and environmental performance in South Asia's ship recycling sector. Dr. Anand, welcome to the GMS Podcast.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and to discuss such an important topic.
Let's begin with some context. The Deepwater Recovery case in British Columbia drew attention to serious environmental and governance failures, repeated toxic discharges, weak pollution controls, and drawn-out legal disputes. From your perspective, what's the key takeaway from that case?
The core lesson is that ship recycling, if not done under a strong regulatory and operational framework, can quickly become a source of environmental harm and community conflict. In the Deepwater case, we saw effluent containing heavy metals which have entered into the marine waters at a very high levels. That clearly points out that there is an inadequate containment of hazardous waste, poor hazardous waste management, and a clear absence of proactive planning. One critical lesson what we can learn from this is we should stop labeling the ship recycling methods. We have that in our mind that if a ship recycling is done in a beaching method, then it is a non-green manner. And if it is done in other method of recycling, for example, say it might be a landing alongside, dry dock, floating, then it's the best way of doing it. It's environmental friendly. This is what the mindset we have. But we need to clearly understand ship recycling, if you are not doing properly, irrespective of the method you are following, it is going to create a quick damage to the environment and to the nearby community. So we need to look ship recycling yards one by the performance, not by the method they are following for ship recycling.
That really shows how critical robust planning and effective containment are when dealing with end-of-life ships. Let's shift focus to Alang, where certified yards have invested heavily in compliance and infrastructure. How have these Hong Kong Convention-compliant facilities tackled the very risk that regulators flagged in Canada?
In Alang certified yards, the process starts with an inventory of hazardous material reports submitted by the ship owners. Before even the vessel arrives, the yard knows how much of hazardous waste is there on board a ship. This inventory allows the recyclers to create a proper ship recycling plan that identifies and sequences the removal of hazardous substances on board a ship. On the ground, these yards have 100% impervious floor with proper geomembrane and with closed drainage systems. That means any liquid, any oily water, any paint chips or mortar slag will not get washed away back to the marine environment. It's properly captured, it's treated, and things are in a very much controlled manner when the ship recycling is done in HKC compliant yards.
That's a clear contrast to the open shore cutting in Union Bay. But what about the human side? Worker safety and training.
HKC yards in Alang operate under ISO 45001, which is aligned with the occupational health and safety standards. Workers are trained in different aspects, for example, firefighting, confined space entry, oil spill responses, and the correct use of personal protective equipments. Every worker is provided with an adequate personal protective equipment as a matter of course. And workers have identity cards. They have been covered with health insurances along with their families. This is worlds apart from unregulated environments where training might be informal or non-existent. Here in India, safety is a structured and documented part of operation as per the HKC requirements.
It's impressive to hear safety treated as a structured, documented process. One of the criticisms we often hear in the West is about transparency. How do you ensure ongoing compliance and public trust?
See, first of all, we need to understand that transparency is built into the systems. We have about 110 certified yards, maybe more than that in HKC compliant yards, which have been undergoing regular audits from different classification societies. And these yards have been provided statement of compliance by the classification societies. There is also an independent monitoring done by under our program called SSORP, Sustainable Ship and Offshore Recycling Program. Whenever a ship owner sells the ships for recycling, our team will be doing a supervision at the yard from the day one of the beaching till the last block of the ship is cut. SSORP keeps a detailed record of waste management, incidents, near misses, safety drills. We keep these records for at least 5 years for the ships which are under our supervision. And the same practice is in place for yards as well, who are compliant with HKC and as well as ISO standards. So instead of disputes, dragging on in court, as we saw with the deep water, compliance is checked continuously and corrective actions are taken promptly.
Let's touch on environmental performance. There's a perception that European or North American yards are inherently greener. Does the data support that?
The problem is we are not looking ship recycling from the life cycle perspective. When I say life cycle perspective, we need to understand what exactly and how exactly the materials recovered from the ship are being used and how environment friendly are they in their process. For example, about 75% of the steel which is recovered from ship recycling in Indian subcontinent are reused through re-rolling rather than melting. So if you equate that one into a life cycle assessment and see the impact it has on the environment, the method of re-rolling alone reduces about 58% of GHG emissions. That equals to roughly avoiding 1.6 tons of CO2 emissions per ton of steel produced. So we are somewhere lacking the overall perspective of the life cycle assessment. We are only looking at the method of ship recycling instead of the whole process. What is exactly happening with the materials? What is the circular economy percentage when you compare with European and the North American way of utilizing the steel with the Indian subcontinent? Even considering the towing emissions, for example, a Panamax bulker in India generates far less CO2 over its life cycle than doing it in a European dry dock, where steel is usually melted, as I said. Plus, in India, nearly all equipment fittings are reused locally, keeping the embedded carbon in circulation and supporting hundreds of small businesses.
And hazardous waste? That was a major failure point in the Deepwater case, right?
Well, I'm not sure 100% on that because based on the news which we heard, we're talking about the heavy metal discharge, which might be have been something which would have been planned very well. The system should be in place to ensure that no paint chip or containing heavy metals and the lead should have entered into the marine environment. But somewhere when I think about that, there might be facilities 100% for handling asbestos, PCBs, and other hazardous waste. But when it comes to management of the paint applied on the surface of ship during the recycling, irrespective of the method followed for recycling, it remains a challenge. Especially talking about ship recycling yards in India, the way they are managing hazardous waste, specifically when it comes to paint, they try to scrape the paint along the cutting line so that there is no need to burn the paint along the cutting line of the ship. And it is very easy to collect the paint flakes because you have an impervious floor. And these paint flakes are again submitted back to an authorized scientific landfill for further incineration. Hazardous waste is never left on site and casually disposed of, especially in case of India, because we have a strong regulatory monitoring and as per the declared waste in the IHM, the same quantity or above that has to be submitted to an authorized waste landfill here. And we have a straight run waste management facility which is located just on half a kilometer from the ship recycling yards.
To summarize, India has got engineered containment, proactive planning, trained and insured workers, independent audits, strong reuse rates, and regulated waste disposal. That's quite a transformation for a sector that, not too long ago, was heavily criticized.
Exactly. It shows that with the right investment, right mindset, right regulation in place, and a commitment from the ship recycling yard, beaching method, which has been criticized so badly, when managed under HKC standards with the right mindset, can just be as safe as any dry dock in the world, but with far greater capacity and a stronger circular economy benefits.
Before we wrap up, what message would you like to send to ship owners who still hesitate to send vessels to India for recycling?
The first message to the ship owners all over the world who are still hesitant because they feel that if they send their ships to recycling yards in Indian subcontinent, there might be an headline risk. First, I request them to visit the ship recycling yards in Indian subcontinent, get a first-hand experience, see everything, the development from your own eyes instead of going by the pictures you might be seeing from the Google. Second, teams like SSORP are here to assist you to select the best yards for your ship. We have hundreds of HKC-compliant yards in India. These facilities are delivering an measurable environmental and social benefits. Keep an eye on the entire life cycle of your ship, how exactly it is creating an impact. You don't need to tow your ship all the way from one part of the world to the another part of the world just to show that you are using a dry dock method or alongside method or different methods.
Dr. Anand, thank you for joining me today and for shedding light on how far the industry has come.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
The deepwater recovery case is a clear reminder that regulations on paper are not enough. Implementation, monitoring, and transparency must follow. At the same time, Alang demonstrates that with investment and third-party verification, beaching methods can meet the highest global standards, turning ship recycling into a true circular economy opportunity. For ship owners and stakeholders, the lesson is clear. Choosing a yard with proven compliance and credible audits isn't just an environmental choice, it's a smart business decision. That's it for this episode. If you found this conversation useful, share it with your network and help move the industry toward more sustainable ship recycling. Thanks for listening.